Hi, I'm Gabby with Wedding Workshop TV, and today we're talking about wedding photography, what to expect, what to consider, and some general guidelines to get you through the research process. Wedding photos are so important because when you look back at them, you'll see the love you have for each other being brought to life, and you'll also be able to remember your friends and family enjoying the day as much as you and your spouse did. I remember our wedding day went by so fast, and now I have my photos to look back at. Some things I may not even realize were happening around me. It's the perfect way to capture the big day, and it's the gift that keeps on giving long after you say, I do. Now you may have noticed our Wedding Workshop TV set looks a little different today, and that's because this is our stay-at-home edition. We hope that you all are staying at home as well, staying safe, staying healthy, and enjoying time with family. Well, thank you, Natasha, so much for joining us today. We're so excited to have a local St. Louis photographer speaking to us about how to choose a wedding photographer. We know you run your own company, Natasha McGuire Photography, here out of St. Louis, and so we just wanted to pick your brain about choosing a photographer. What are some best practices? What are some things you should be asking, and really what you should be looking for when selecting a photographer for your wedding? So thank you for joining us, even though it's a little unconventional.
Yes.
Okay, so let's just get started with, how did you get into photography? How did you decide to start with weddings?
Yeah, so it started back in 2011. I had always loved photography, but I attended a bridal shower and a friend of the family was photographing it, and she had her nice big camera there. And I had lots of questions for her, and she was so open to answering all my questions. And it ended up, I bought a used camera off of her. She came to my house, gave me a quick little tutorial on how to use it, and then she took me on an engagement shoot with her. So I really credit her to helping me get started. So if Christy is listening, thank you, Christy.
That is such a unique story. I love that. And good for you for just sticking with it and finding your passion and going for it. I think that's so neat. Especially in the wedding industry, because I think it's such a special moment to share with couples. And I was really close and am really close with our wedding photographer. When it comes to that, how do you recommend those planning their wedding have that first meet up with a photographer, or have that kind of conversation where you could get a good feel for, am I comfortable with this person? Could I spend all day with them?
Right, yes. I think that's so important to get to know each other. So like with that first wedding I shot, I did not know the couple. I was invited by the other photographer to come. So yeah, getting to know the couple is so important. I try to do that with maybe in-person consultations. I do those complimentary at wedding workshops and more, or even Zoom calls like this. But engagement shoots are nice because we get to know each other and get the chance to work with each other ahead of time. But then I'll offer too to go on venue tours with them, just, more opportunities to hang out and get comfortable with each other. But I've also developed little tips and tricks over the years. If someone's not feeling super confident in front of the camera, I have things that we can kind of talk about to get them distracted from the fact that there's this great big camera pointed at them. And maybe I usually am wearing two cameras, so I know it can be maybe a little intimidating for some. But just, keeping it simple little questions has helped me and helped them.
Yeah, that's awesome. So for those watching and looking to select a photographer, I think that's something that you definitely want to do your homework on is, are they personable? Are they making you feel comfortable, even just in conversation? Can they keep a conversation going?
As far as style goes, if you're talking maybe the editing side of things, I always like to tell people my photos are very true to life. So whatever colors that you've chosen for your wedding are the colors that are going to be in your photos. So I don't typically do any filters where I'm like maybe taking away a color. I know there's maybe some trends or some other types of photography where they maybe would take away the greens, or maybe it's a little bit more of a washed out look. So that wouldn't be my style. Mine's more true to life, more classic and timeless. I like the pops of color. And I think that you can see that too when you're looking at my website. But I'm also happy to share full galleries with people just to kind of show, my approach for the whole day, starting at the beginning through the whole day to the end. I think it's good to share with people too.
So how do I even go about looking for photographers if I don't know where to start? Maybe I don't have any friends or family who've been through this yet. Is it just a Google search? What do I do?
Yeah, I would say a lot of people find me through word of mouth referrals, which is so great. Even, with being on Wedding Workshops and More website, and then Angie and Missy helping people with their weddings. I've been able to connect with couples that way. But also just getting to know a lot of the professionals in our St. Louis area have been great. I always like to kind of be as involved as I can, maybe from the beginning of the planning. I'll send a questionnaire, just kind of asking what vendors have you already selected? Do you need any help with other vendors? Because I like to share photos with all the different vendors as well, because it is such a group effort and everyone's worked so hard, on your day. So as far as working together, I feel like we're just all in it for the couple.
Now that we've talked a little bit about finding a photographer and the different industry perspectives, can you tell us a little bit about the actual day? I think that's something maybe that might be a little unknown to some of our viewers is, what does it look like to have a photographer? Is it like reality TV? Like, how does that work? What does that look like?
Yeah. And I think some people, they've even joked around that I'm like the paparazzi because I'm everywhere.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people, they want that because they want the story of their day. And I enjoy capturing that for them. So I'll even start at the beginning of the day, wherever they're getting ready at. And I'll start maybe just pictures of the outside of the location, just to kind of set the scene of where everything started. And start with the detailed photos. So whenever I say details, I mean like the shoes, the dress or the suit, any jewelry, purses, maybe the stationery. I always ask people maybe have an extra set there for me to photograph. Any sort of heirloom item that you might have that you want photos of, I will have that all ready for me. So when I get there, I can find them. They're easy to find, and I can start with that.
Yeah, and I always think of the details as the things you're going to want to remember. Maybe you had a really fun story behind your shoes and you want your shoes, or maybe you had a really fun story behind, I don't know, a tie or something. Like, even if it seems silly and you're like, why would we need a picture of that? I think you want to flip through a wedding album and be like, oh, remember when, and if some sort of item can jog your memory of that story or how something happened, I think those are the things you want photographed, because you may not end up with a picture of your feet or you may not end up with a close-up of someone's tie, and you don't think about that stuff. So some people do getting ready photos, some people choose not to. So what's kind of your take on that?
I like to do those. I usually am just taking pictures of the finishing touches of hair and makeup. Okay. And then maybe the bride with her wedding party, maybe in their robes. So I usually ask people if they all have matching robes, we'll make sure and get that photo.
So let's talk about the first look. Some people choose to opt out of the first look, or rather have the first look be coming down the aisle and you just go straight into the ceremony. Other couples choose to do a first look at maybe a separate location or just a small space away from everything prior to the ceremony. So what's your take, and how can you get photos from both perspectives?
Yeah, so I like a first look. I know for me and my husband, it was helpful for us just because we kind of were a little bit nervous, and it gave us a chance to see each other kind of earlier in the day than we would have normally. And then we got to see each other. We captured that first look. Then we have pictures of just the two of us. And then we were able to do the family photos before the ceremony. So then right after the ceremony, we got to go to cocktail hour and be with our friends and family right away.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. So actually, I did a first look and my sister didn't. And so I kind of got to be close to both, and you can't go wrong. Like, you cannot choose the wrong thing. The only thing that could go wrong is if you did the opposite of what made you comfortable.
So I like to encourage having a second photographer, which is someone that I would hire. And a lot of times I'll wait till it's closer to your wedding day to choose someone who maybe fits your day, what I've learned about you and your day. And then I like to hire other photographers who are comfortable shooting on their own. If there is a family member who is interested in shooting your wedding, I would make sure that they're a professional photographer if they're going to do most of the shooting. Again, ask them how long they've been shooting, can they show you some wedding galleries, and then have a contract with them as well. Just because there's so much that has gone into your day and it goes by so fast. At the end of the day, they say you've eaten all the food, you've done all the dancing, and so what you have is your partner, your rings, and your photos. So it's super important. I do not take my job lightly. And so I think it's really worth it to hire a professional.
We've talked about getting ready. We've talked about first looks. Now let's talk about the actual ceremony. So I know that some venues may have some restrictions as to where photographers can be in certain places throughout the ceremony, and some have none. So I'd love to hear just a little bit from you about how photographers photograph in certain ceremony venue spots and how that all works.
And it's actually a question that's on my questionnaire that I send the couple right away. Does your venue have any restrictions, or does your church have any restrictions? Because a lot of times they'll be sent a PDF or a file with all of that in it. And so I encourage them to send that to me. But I also like to go to the rehearsals, because then it's an opportunity for me to see the space as it's going to be used for them, kind of meet, whether it's the venue coordinator or the church coordinator, and kind of just introduce myself and meet them and kind of see, oh, I read this rule that you had. Could you show me what you mean? And then sometimes
how far can I push that boundary?
Yeah. So at this point, I've had different coordinators even tell me, oh, this is a good spot you should shoot from, and let me show you how you get there. So, I mean, just meeting them ahead of time has been so great.
Yeah, that's smart. I love how involved you are. Like, if your photographer is not advocating for you on your wedding day, like if they're not breaking rules and pushing boundaries to an extent, obviously, then like you've not got the right photographer. You want them to act like it's their wedding day. And for something I really want to spend some time on is the reception, because when does the photographer leave? How late do they stay? What all do they need to capture? And is there anything important there that you want to make sure to tell them? So just what's your take on that space and time?
Sure. I love to ask, when will the reception be ready for me to photograph? So when will all the decor be ready? Because either myself or my second shooter, we want to be there right at that point before the guests have arrived, so we can get it pictures, as just space, as you select everything you've selected to decorate it. So that's another kind of detail photos that I love capturing. So that's a good thing to know. Just what time will it be ready? And then, what time is cocktail hour? And are you interested in photos of your guests? Because that's a good time where maybe myself and my second shooter would divide our time.
Something I noticed that just runs strong through photographers is the want and desire to be a helping hand on the big day. So I don't know how you guys do it, but you manage to take beautiful photos and also pick up someone's dress and carry it for them, or hold a flower bouquet, or help with a bow tie. So it's almost like having just another wedding party member there to be a helping hand on the big day. So they become your friend and the camera goes away. And so for anyone that's afraid of it, just know it goes away. You won't notice it after a while. We live in Missouri, so it is like regularly changing weather around here. So you just can't count on anything. So having a backup plan never hurts. But asking for or ensuring that a photographer has extra gear or lighting just to be prepared, you would assume they would, but just to be prepared, because that'll make a big difference on the indoor photos, like you said. Okay, so tell us a little bit about you. I mean, obviously you're a wedding photographer, but what else do you do? This was like your hobby passion turned like your full-time job. So now with your new hobby, what else do you do?
I have to admit, I'm addicted to Instagram. So I just love looking at photos too.
I understand. I'm with you.
Yes, yes. So if I'm not taking photos or on Instagram, I like to be outdoors. The house that my husband and I purchased just a little over a year ago, we're close to Carondelet Park, which is the third largest park in St. Louis.
I know that.
Yeah, it's super nice that we can just walk to it, and so pretty in all the different seasons. And then just even in this time, we're able to still walk and enjoy the outdoors. So.
Okay, well, Natasha, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for doing this with me. I wish the whole team could be here. Obviously, we've switched things up a little bit, but we definitely want to make sure we were still having these conversations and bringing this information and content to our viewers. So we really appreciate you doing this a little unconventionally. And we really appreciate all your advice, such good advice and perspective on how to choose a good photographer for your wedding day. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's all for today, guys. This is Wedding Workshop TV, and I'm Gabby. And be sure to check out one of our other videos or visit us on Instagram or Facebook. I don't know how to stop this thing. You can drop off. I'm going to try and stop the recording and watch it all.
All right. Have a good night.
Thanks. You too. Bye-bye. Stop letting me stop. This is why I can't be trusted to film on my own. Just saying. This was bad.